Now, this is where we thought it wise that we need to educate the populace as to what benefits is a well-nourished citizen. What benefit does it have? Because sometimes we just think, okay, if you talk to someone that okay, you need to control what you eat, what would they will tell you is we don't have that ability to control what we eat. We eat what we see. Sometimes they will tell you we don't have the control. We only eat what we see. This means they are not being educated and they are not being supported as to what are some of these things they are supposed to eat. This is why the youth, we should take the mantle and then start educating them as to how to take up their nutrition in the right direction.
So, Mr. C, if we are to take our nutrition into right direction, does that has to do with proper agriculture and then the use of soil, and those things also need to be considered?
Exactly. Because when you come to my country, for instance, our former president used to say, "We grow what we eat and eat what we grow." Now, in that particular aspect, that tells you for Africa to survive as a nation and then build its economy, it has to go back to agriculture. Now, in that agriculture, this is where we grow what we eat, so that we will control our nutrition. Now, bear in mind that in the our now continent here, the mortality rate due to poor nutrition is very high because we know malnutrition is one of the killer diseases of children under 5, and Africa has been hit very well, especially with the coming in of COVID-19. We know AU was working towards trying to eliminate that per se, but then COVID-19 came and then stopped all that. Now all other concentration went straight to the COVID-19, how to eliminate that particular disease that was disturbing the whole world. Now there is a need to go back to agriculture, wherein we will farm and then eat what we grow and grow what we eat, so that we will have a well-nourished citizens that can build the Africa that we want.
So, well, Mr. C, from your own perspective, like this is gonna be on your own point of view. Like COVID-19 came in and really put back so many of the goals that needs to be achieved by, let's say, education for 2030 and AU team of 2022, which is building resilience in nutrition on the African continent, accelerate the human capital and social and economic development. So if things like COVID-19, these are emergencies that comes, we're not expecting them. So is this going to teach us to, when we are putting our plans to really, prepare for uncertainties? So is COVID-19 a lesson to that?
Exactly. From my own point of view, COVID-19, in fact, it is a test for Africa. It is trying to show the world that yes, we need to make our health facilities a priority, because when it hit it, then we knew that okay, Africa, we are lagging behind. Then in that aspect, you see to it that all concentrations went back to COVID-19. And even with the concentration going back to COVID-19, we still couldn't fight it. So it means there is a need to prepare for the worst whenever these circumstances come in, because we don't know where another circumstance is coming in. Because no one was prepared for COVID-19. The world, everyone will tell you they were not prepared for COVID-19. Yeah. And then we have seen the consequences, because Africa, in fact, was one of the continents that was hit hard, because our health it has laid bare our health facilities. It has shown us that yes, our health facilities are not in good condition. So if people are not healthy, you can't concentrate on agriculture and then produce well-nourished citizens. So meaning our government and every other stakeholder should prepare for the worst in cases like this, as in the COVID-19.
True. Can you please take us through the whole research that you guys did, and then we can elaborate more and the recommendations that you guys come with when we are to work on towards eliminating malnutrition in Africa?
Exactly. So our own research was on the building resilience in nutrition. And then from this, we dig as to how this came about, how the theme itself came about, how did they choose this theme. Now, that is what we put in our first paragraph. That is where we discuss the background information as to how this theme came about. And then we established, can I go on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We established the fact that Africa is suffering, as in when you look at the population is also increasing. As it stands, we have almost 1.3 billion people in Africa. So that need for an increase in population means that our government has to work harder. Now, when you go over it again, we talked about how malnutrition is affecting the younger generation. And these are the generations that need to grow to put Africa where we want to see it. Now, we have also gone through to talk about how COVID-19 itself affected Africa, meaning how COVID-19 came and then moved all this concentration from agriculture, from eliminating malnutrition to combating COVID-19 itself. Now, from there, then we went to the main point itself. This is where we talked about malnutrition itself. That is poor nutrition. What can poor nutrition cost Africa? What effect
That's really important. That's really a very, very important part. I want you to really elaborate on that more, like what malnutrition, like the big impact of it, because many people don't seem to realize this.
Exactly. So when you look at malnutrition, let's give an example of a child who is malnourished. And then this particular child is the future of Africa, as we say. Now, but most of the time, I disagree to the fact that, yes, like saying we are the futures of Africa. No, we are not the futures. We are the present. We are the present because we are in power to do certain things at our own level. So if you look at it, if a child is malnourished, and then you expect that child to grow up in that condition to take Africa where we want it to be. First, we're losing the human capital. That is to say, the human that is supposed to do that work to see Africa where we want, we cannot have it. Now, if you do not have the human capital, meaning you're losing the economic aspect of it, because it is the human capital that can bring the economic part of it. So, meaning if malnutrition is not well treated, it affects the human capital. It also affects the economic part of it, and then even the social cohesion itself will lack. Because imagine, as the saying goes, a hungry man is an angry man. Now imagine wherein people are hungry, they do not listen to anyone. The only thing they need is food. So meaning, we do not talk about development wherein there is malnutrition. It hampers development, as in that aspect itself.
So which means that malnutrition hampers development and also peace, because when people are hungry, we can have peace, right?
Exactly. Okay. That is the sense here. When people are hungry, they cannot have peace. Because imagine in war zones, the only thing people complain about is the fact that, yes, they need food. Because they're in war. Yes, they know they're in war, they need peace, but then food comes first before peace.
True.
You need to be well nourished, you need to have food before you have peace. So where we have, imagine, where we have war, in war zones, the only thing people want to support them with is they want. So it hampers development as in that aspect as well. Even the citizens that are supposed to take up the aspirations of taking the nutritious food that they want. So those are some of the things that malnutrition hampers the of an individual, as it is one of the worst killers of children under 5, which we all know. It kills children under 5 because these people are the ones that are very much affected. Let's say as an elder, yes, but you have the physicality to at least bear some extent of hunger. But as a child, the child does not have that strength. Does not have that strength to take up that hungriness in him to wherever he wants to go. Now, this is why we said, to summarize, we said that it has an effect. That is the physicality, the mental, even the way you think, and the physiological development itself, because you do not have that strength. Now, when you talk about mental as well, we know given ideas has to come from your mentality, and you cannot think if you do not have a well-nourished body. So your physiological part is what you need to work on first before you start thinking. That is why sometimes they will tell you, if you're hungry, if you're very, very, very hungry, eat first, drink before you start thinking, because you might choose you might choose the wrong decision at that particular point in time, because all you see is food you want to eat. So there is a need to build a nutritious continent to see Africa where we want it to be.
That is true, Mr. C. Definitely, I agree with this. I think when we are hungry, we can think, because you need food in your body to be able to think straight. So that's really true. Yeah. And if we are to talk about development, which means we need to have food. So can we please go to the last paragraph of this research before we wrap up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm. So what to sum up everything, that is those as a continent, like I said in the earlier part of it, we need to work towards developing an Africa where everyone sees themselves into. Now we cannot do this by sitting down in offices. We know everyone cannot be in the offices. Sometimes we need to take up responsibilities, as in organizing campaigns, as in organizing radio talk shows where we will talk about so many different things, especially with the need for nutrition, because we believe that nutrition is where everything starts. Even when you are born as a child, you start with nutrition because you are given food. This tells us that this is where everything begins. So to emphasize on this nutrition, that is building resilience in nutrition, cannot be overemphasized because this is where everything starts. So meaning we need to talk to the populace, those that are not educated, those that do not have the platforms to be to listen to all these particular things. We need to tell them. They need to know. Sometimes it's not the fact that they don't want to involve themselves, but because they do not know where to start. Now, it is our responsibility as youth organization to start at these levels, to talk to them as to what the priorities are. This is where we need to begin as youth. Our government, we know our governments cannot do everything. They are doing their part, whether they're doing it correctly or wrong. We don't, at some point, you ask yourself certain questions. But there is a point where we should start in. We just do not have the powers to be where they are. But at our own level, the powers that we need to invest in educating people so that they will also gain the benefits, gain the knowledge as to where they can start from.
Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. C. I would like you to stop sharing the screen now so we can wrap up to face to face now. Let's say that, not in the sides.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much.
In Africa, and you want the design poster to be peace. Is it peace in peace in Africa? Is that peace in Africa? So where means we can have peace without having good food. So which also has to do with agriculture. So if African youth architects and you, the young people in AYA Research Lab Group 2, has to work on this problem, which is malnutrition in Africa, what recommendations did you guys have? What should we do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having this platform. It was a bit difficult to do this all because I had to take my personal time and then to do all this research. I do not want to, I'm not saying it to try to block any other person from any other thing. Yeah, but I took up the responsibility so that I know. Yeah, the last time I called you, I tried to explain everything to you. You know, at some point, if you are given an assignment to do as a group, it's always difficult because I have these experiences at the university where I am. Others always want to be carried. They want to be carried along. They do not want to participate at some level. I took the time to do all this drafting. That is why we could not send a larger volume because I took a little time out of it because I was expecting everyone to do their little part and then we compile up. We could have a bigger document than this. Now,
so that's unique. That makes you a leader. That's what leadership is all about. When crisis come in, you have to be the underdog and then take the whole responsibility. We are responsible for so many people, and not everybody wants to do what's given to them. But being a leader, you just have to do the job sometimes.
Exactly. At the end of the day, that is what I said. That is what is important. Doing the job. That is what is important at this particular level. Now, coming back to the recommendations that we want the AYA to do, that is at AYA level, we would want a very educative forums wherein we will talk to our populace, we will talk them through nutritional benefits. What are some of the things that we need to do to have resilience in this particular thing? Now, in that aspect, we need to tell them, we need to put it in them that this is where everything starts. Because I know if you go to a platform wherein you tell them about food and the importance of food, and this is where everything starts, then you will get to see that they will understand why nutrition is very important. But at some point, if you talk to other people and then trying to tell them that okay, this food is good, this is how you eat it, they will try to tell you, okay, you're trying to act like white man because that is the way our culture is. You try to control what you eat. Like for example, let's say during the night, you will tell them, okay, do not eat very heavy food because it will not digest before you sleep. So they will tell you, those are all, they'll try to attribute you with white people, which is not the case. We are trying to tell them, we are trying to put them through to a very nutritious and health benefit. Now, it is important at AYA to have a very large platform wherein we can go to an extent educating them. Even if there is need to collaborate with some of the ministries of health or even ministries wherein those people that are responsible for food, ministries of agriculture, we involve them so that we will have a very larger campaign to tell people why nutrition is very important.
So which means that we can't have a proper nutrition because before we talk about proper nutrition, I think we have to first look into having adequate food sufficiency. So which has to do with making sure we have a good agricultural system. So how do we get into that first? Because we have to have the food first before we talk about managing how we eat and things like that. So what do we do? Yeah, not to learn to malnutrition.
Exactly. In that aspect, we need to talk about our agriculture that is trying to mechanize our agriculture, involve ourselves into mechanization of agriculture, use our arable lands. Let's say in my country here, Gambia, we know we have very vast lands where people can venture into agriculture, into trying to grow things that we can eat, because we believe that food that is grown is of much more health benefit than those that are imported or taken from other places. You see? So meaning there is a need to go back to that agricultural land and then farm So in that aspect, we need to empower our youth, and then we empower our women. Like in the Gambia here, we know most of this agricultural, commercial agriculture is being done by the women. So meaning we need to go back to the land and then empower those people with mechanizations, wherein we will grow what we want. Now, when we when we are done with that, then we can talk about sustainability. We can talk about how do we sustain this particular thing to continue, because we don't want to start a thing that would not continue. Start it for 5 years, and then in another 5 years we start questioning where did we put our money into. So meaning it is very important to go back to the land to practice mechanization so that we will have what we want in agriculture. Then we talk about sustainability.
So, Mr. C, if I am to understand the recommendation from group 2 to AYA, which is has to do with eliminating malnutrition in Africa. First of all, we have to look into how we can have a proper agriculture and how we grow what we eat. I don't know, something like that, and which also has to do with now we have to look how we can sustain that food.
Exactly.
So this cannot be done without agriculture, and also which has to do with good health. Because when we have sufficient food now, we have to know how to manage that and what goes into our body and what that food has to do in
there. Exactly. That is what our recommendation is. This is to say we have to agriculture and then empower mechanization so that we will have food. And then after having the food, we talk about sustainability, that is sustaining it to eternity.
So, Mr. C, if AYA is to handle all of these works, all the recommendations that group 2 has come with, if we are to provide everything that you guys request for, what will you guys do?
Okay, that is a very big question. I wish everyone was here to share with me the ideas.
Then we will, from your own perspective now, answer for an individual. Yeah.
Exactly. From my own perspective, I know as a start, we can go back to commercial agriculture. We know women suffer a lot in that particular aspect. They invest in their resources and in their powers, but if you look at it, their income is limited. And then most of these products, they grow it for their family use. Now we need to look at an area, we need to look at in that aspect wherein you will support these women into their agricultural products. Now in this particular sense, we support them to realizing that they can exit that aspect of doing it just for their family use. They can go beyond that particular step. That is, after taking what they want for their family, they also need to sell some. We know they need money. Their children need to go to school. They need money. It's not only the food. Even they also need uniforms. They also need bags, shoes. So we need to support these particular women in their agricultural products for a start. Now from there, if we have a stand, then we can see how best we can expand it to a very larger aspect.
Thank you so much, Mr. C. This is really amazing. I would not keep you for an extra minute. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and the amazing work. One more thing, what is one word do you have for African Youth Architects Reside Lab, your experience with the Reside Lab?
Yeah, well, one thing I have learned so much from the onset, from where everything started, this project. So I was very much excited when I saw to it that we're going into AYA to share our experience, to learn so many particular things, because I realized there are individuals who have so much experience in this particular thing. So getting an opportunity to join them is a great thing. So I am very, very happy to be here to learn so many things. And then I expect it to go further, to involve into so many projects where we will have success. We know it cannot come easy. Yes, we need to pump in more work, but we are ready to do our quota, do our sacrifice to see to it that we all have the Africa we want. So I am very proud of AYA. So I think that is all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. C. Thank you. We have collected your recommendations and we will definitely put it into consideration, and we will get back to you and your team what we come from your work. Thank you so much once again. And this is AYA Research Lab. We are very much happy to have you, Mr. C, all the way from the Gambia. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.